There is a moment in almost every man's life when he realizes something he never expected. He realizes that losing a woman who truly cared for him was not just a mistake. It was a turning point. But here's the truth most women don't hear enough. Men rarely feel the loss immediately. Their regret does not rush in like a storm. Instead, it creeps slowly, quietly, and often painfully. And when it finally settles, it hits them with a force they never saw coming. A man begins to regret losing you when the comfort he took for granted suddenly disappears. Men get used to your presence far faster than they admit. They get used to your good morning messages, your emotional support, your curiosity about their day, your patience, your softness, your strength, your belief in them. They take it all in like air, assuming it will always be there. But when you finally step back, when your voice goes silent, when your energy no longer surrounds his life, that silence becomes the first echo of regret. The first stage of male regret begins when stability is replaced with emptiness. Men often confuse routines with love. They convince themselves that relationships are supposed to feel normal, but when you're gone, the routines stay, yet they feel cold. The same couch, the same bed, the same phone, but nothing feels the same. That's when the first crack forms. The second stage of regret arrives when he faces life without your emotional support. Men rarely receive emotional care from anyone except their partner. You were probably the one who listened to his stress, encouraged him, believed in him, reminded him of his strengths. Without your presence, he notices the emotional gap immediately. Days become heavier, his confidence dips, small challenges feel bigger, and he begins to understand that your love wasn't just affection. It was stability. The third stage happens when he sees you healing, improving, or simply existing without him. Nothing wakes a man up faster than realizing that the woman he took for granted he's no longer waiting. When he sees you looking happier, more peaceful, more confident. When he realizes you are not chasing, not begging, not convincing, just evolving. That is when regret transforms into panic. He wonders, was she the best thing in my life? And did I just lose her for good? Men also feel regret when they try to replace you and fail. At first, many men believe they can just move on. They distract themselves. They talk to new people. They go out. They laugh. They pretend. But pretended happiness is thin. It breaks easily. And every new connection exposes what they lost. Because no one has your voice, your kindness, your humor, your softness, your strength, your patience, or your warmth. Losing you teaches him what no one else can give him again. And the scientific psychology behind this is simple. Men process emotional loss slower. Their brains handle attachment differently. They delay their emotional reaction until the absence becomes real, until the silence becomes heavy, until daily life becomes colder. That's why their regret often shows up late but strong. By the time a man realizes your value, it's usually because he feels the shift in his identity. A woman's love often makes a man better, more focused, more stable, more grounded. When that energy disappears, he loses a part of himself. That missing piece is what creates his deepest regret. A man also regrets losing you when he finally recognizes the difference between attention and affection. Men get distracted easily. They get flattered easily. They confuse validation with connection. But when he loses you, he discovers a truth only time can teach. Attention is temporary, but real love is rare. And what you gave him wasn't temporary. It was real. It was committed. It was meaningful. That realization stings harder than anything else. Another powerful moment of regret comes when he faces consequences he never expected. When arguments no longer lead to reconciliation. When he cannot just apologize and get you back. When you are no longer emotionally available to him. When your energy shifts from trying to letting go. That emotional shift is loud. Even if you say nothing. Men notice when a woman who once tried to save the relationship finally gives up. That is when regret becomes painful. He also regrets losing you when he sees you glowing without him. Your peace, your progress, your new goals, your new habits, your smile returning, your self-worth strengthening. Men expect you to crumble without them. They expect their absence to break you. But when you rise calmly, silently, gracefully, it shakes him. Because he realizes that you were never the one who depended on him. He was the one who depended on your light. Regret also appears when he sees other men noticing you. A man can ignore your worth when he thinks you belong to him. But when he sees someone else admiring you, appreciating you, flirting with you, or simply respecting you in ways he didn't, that's when jealousy mixes with regret. It forces him to face the fact that he may have lost something irreplaceable. And then there is the moment he realizes you were not perfect, but you were rare. You had qualities he may never find again. Your loyalty, your emotional depth, your ability to love without conditions, your patience when things got hard, your willingness to communicate, your desire to solve problems instead of running from them. These qualities are not common. Men only learn this truth after losing a woman who carried these traits. A man regrets losing you deeply when life teaches him that connection without emotional maturity is fragile. When his past behaviors finally make sense to him, when he understands how his own insecurities, ego, fears, or immaturity pushed you away. This is one of the hardest forms of regret because it forces him to face himself, not just the relationship. He begins to see the small things he ignored, the moments he dismissed, the effort you put in, the love you gave that he didn't reciprocate, the times you were there for him when no one else was. And regret grows when he realizes he did not meet you with the same love you offered. Regret becomes even stronger when he sees your absence affecting his daily life. When he reaches for his phone and sees no message. When he wants to share good news but has no one who truly cares. When he feels stressed and no longer has the calmness of your voice. When his home feels emptier. When his weekends feel long. When silence becomes his new reality. A man begins to regret losing you when he understands that attraction without emotional security is empty. He might meet someone new who excites him, but excitement fades, chemistry fades, the honeymoon phase fades. And when it does, he notices a truth he avoided. No new connection feels like home the way you did. No one brings him peace the way you did. No one understands him the way you did. That comparison creates a regret so deep that it shapes his future relationships. He also regrets losing you when his own growth catches up to him. Men mature emotionally slower than women, and by the time he understands what love truly requires, communication, consistency, effort, vulnerability, it is often too late. You've already healed. You have already moved forward. You have already grown into someone he cannot reach anymore. That is when regret becomes permanent. A man feels deep regret when he realizes that losing you changed the direction of his life, because losing a good woman is not just the end of a relationship. It is the loss of emotional balance, the loss of support, the loss of vision, the loss of potential. When he looks back and sees who he was with you versus who he is without you, the difference becomes impossible to ignore. Regret also arrives when he revisits memories, the inside jokes, the late night conversations, the comfort of being understood, the plans you made, the dreams you shared. Nostalgia hits him at unexpected moments, and every memory reminds him of the woman he pushed away. But here is the most powerful truth. A man regrets losing you when you no longer make it easy for him to return, when you stop sending long messages explaining your feelings, when you stop chasing clarity, when you stop forgiving instantly, when you stop holding his hand emotionally, when you choose yourself instead. That choice is what triggers his deepest regret. He regrets losing you when he realizes that love requires effort, and he gave none. When he sees that you were all in while he was halfway present, when he recognizes the imbalance he ignored, when he finally understands your silence. Because a woman's silence is not lack of love. It is exhaustion, and men realize this too late. Regret also forms when he sees you setting boundaries he never thought you'd have. When you become stronger, more self-aware, more selective, when you stop accepting the bare minimum, when you stop overgiving, when you stop tolerating what drained you. That evolution shows him a version of you he never appreciated, and now he cannot reach. And finally, he regrets losing you when love no longer feels peaceful with anyone else. Because peace is not something a man forgets. When a woman brings calmness, stability, and emotional safety into his life, her absence becomes a storm. And no matter how far he goes, no matter how many people he meets, he remembers the peace he lost. A man also regrets losing you when he realizes that you were his emotional mirror. You reflected his potential. You encouraged his growth. You believed in his dreams even when he doubted himself. When that mirror disappears, he feels lost. He feels disconnected from his own direction. And that confusion leads him to understand how much your presence shaped his life. He regrets losing you when he understands that emotional intimacy cannot be replaced. Physical attraction is easy to find. Surface-level connections are everywhere. But someone who understands his emotions, reads his mood, notices his silence, and supports his healing, that is rare. Your emotional availability made him feel seen in a way he didn't appreciate until it was gone. A man regrets losing you when he realizes that loyalty is not guaranteed. Your loyalty, your consistency, your effort, these were gifts, and he assumed they would last forever. But when he sees that loyalty redirected into your own healing and your own growth, he understands that losing you means losing a version of love he may never experience again. He also regrets losing you when he finally faces accountability, when he acknowledges the mistakes he tried to ignore, when he recognizes the ways he hurt you, minimized your feelings, or dismissed your needs. Accountability is painful, but it is also clarifying. It forces him to understand that the damage he caused cannot be reversed. And that realization becomes a heavy form of regret. But here is the empowering truth for you. His regret is not your responsibility. His awakening is not your burden. You are not required to wait for his clarity, his growth, or his apology. Your life continues, your healing continues, your evolution continues, and your worth remains intact with or without his regret. Men regret losing women who choose themselves, women who walk away with dignity, women who grow after heartbreak, women who stop accepting pain disguised as love. When you rise above what broke you, he sees the strength he underestimated, and that strength becomes the reason he regrets letting you go. His regret is simply a reflection of your value. It does not define your future. It does not limit your potential. It does not reduce your worth. If anything, it proves what you always knew. You were not hard to love. He was not ready to love. The final stage of male regret comes when he realizes that you were not replaceable, that your energy was unique, that your presence was rare, that your love was genuine. And by the time he understands all of this, you have already created a life where his return no longer adds value. That is the ultimate moment of regret. Not when he loses you, but when he realizes he can never get you back. And that right there is your power, your strength, your closure. You do not need his regret to validate your worth. His regret simply confirms it. This is when a man truly regrets losing you, not at the breakup, not during the silence, but when he sees the woman he once had, becoming the woman he can never have again.